always try to put the pattern, you know, within the pattern. One of the biggest keys on flipping bushes is depth. Right back here. You know, and some of these are in 7, some of them are in 4 and 5, and that's a big difference. You wouldn't think it would be, but it can really, really make a difference in where these fish are located, because when they move in here to spawn, they're going to want a certain depth. And then all of a sudden you'll find some with that sandy gravel that they like in a certain area, and that's really going to hold them as well. And just, man, when you set the hook, come on quick. Don't come out there as quick as you can. And if they get you lodged up, you know, go in after them. I keep the money pole on my deck, and if I have to, I'll use it to help if they get you lodged up, and they will from time to time. You know, the secondary limbs, you can get over them because they're gonna lean and come towards you when you set the hook. Just don't get over the base. That's really where you get in trouble. And it happens. I mean, you'll set the hook on those giants. We had one on, probably won't show you guys on camera, but we had one about 8 or 9 pounds a little while ago that just, man, it just completely got us wrapped up. We couldn't get it out. I want to show you guys what I just did right there too. When you, you know, this braid, it's unforgiving. So like when you reel up and you hit a limb and you get against a limb, don't keep coming and popping it free. Drop it 1 inch and then bring it. You won't get it free when it's snug against that limb, but if you drop it and let it get loose for a second and then start bringing it out, you're a lot more likely to get it out. You know, I think the biggest thing to realize is you're setting the hook in these trees and they're somewhat fleshy. And what I mean by that, they're tender. And when you set the hook with braided line, it can cut down into that tree and make it virtually impossible to get that fish out. So you got to be thinking about the angles that you're pitching to. Pitch where you can get over limbs that are angled towards you. That way it doesn't cut into them, it moves them over. If you go over those limbs, it's going to be virtually impossible to get those bass out. It's already tough enough as it is. Use everything to your advantage and study about making those pitches before you make your presentation. See, here's a tree that'll get you in trouble right here. If you can get under and get close to that base and some of those overhanging limbs, I didn't quite get close enough that time. Right there, just like that. This one. Get out of there. That's a strong one. Oh gosh, that is a strong one right there. Look at him pull. That's one thing I've always said about Lake Falcon fish. Them in Toledo Bend are as strong as they get. Get to the base, guys. Got to get to the base. I love catching them 3-pounders in the tournament winning fish right there. Show you guys what I do here. This Crawsome has these 2 tentacles, and I pull them off so they don't get in the way. And man, we got the best spring in the industry. Simply get that straight in and just screw it on there. And once you get it screwed in, you know, when it falls, the pinchers are going to open up as they do on the Crawsome. That's going to come straight down and spin. And it's just a deadly setup. It just gives all of that flash in there. And you know, you take a situation like the Alabama rig and what it did to spinner baits, and you see all kind of different situations with blades on stuff. Now we've got the MJ jig, which is another phenomenal lure when you're fishing a swim jig or anything like that. And this just does the same thing. All he did was sling my MJ jig off of there. Quick release. Man, this stuff is gnarly. Man, get another one. You know, Lake Falcon had been in a drought for many years. This cover had grew up around the bank, a lot of fresh green bushes, and that's exactly where those bass were located. You know, as we were fishing around all throughout the day, there was a lot of bushes that had been there previous to the last flood that they had died out. Those trees were not holding fish. It had to be the ones with all of the green cover, and that was the biggest key. And guys, you can relate it to a situation even if you're not in flooding conditions. Let's say you go to a lake like on the Alabama River around Cooter's Pond, or you go to Wilson Lake and you see a series of laydowns and there's one tree that's green that has recently blown off into the lake or freshly put out brush piles that some of the crappie fishermen do. Those are the ones that's going to hold the most bass because they've got the most cover. Be cognizant of that. Every fish is going to tell you a story that's going to help you put the pieces of the puzzle together to be able to catch more bass.